Why? Why? Go to sleep. Shh. Be quiet. What? You're kidding. Like, what do the Duggars do? Like, do you ever just sit there and go, wait a minute, what do the Duggars do? Hi Noon, it is Breanne, and today I'm going to talk about Betsy's sleep. I wouldn't really call it sleep training because it's more like parent training. My philosophy is more like what does she need, and then I respond accordingly. I read a number of books throughout the past 4 months, and I'm going to be doing some reviews on those, so if you are interested in that, I'll have those up soon. When she was first born, we were co-sleeping, and by co-sleeping, I mean she was right next to our bed within arm's reach with us. She was in her own little like rocker next to us, but I could touch her and be right there. And she was nursing at the time, basically every hour to hour and a half. In her first early weeks, she did not sleep hardly at all. It was just really kind of like very sporadic sleeping. In those early weeks, I didn't worry at all. I worried about my sleep and it was like, oh, she's asleep, I should sleep too, but that's not always realistic when you have other kids. I really tried just about anything I could do to get her to sleep. When she was in the first like 6 or 8 weeks, if we put her in the car and we drove her around, she would go to bed. Her acid reflux at that point was at its peak. It wasn't under control at all. So I was like, whatever we can do, I'm gonna do. So at one point I read on a forum, and I'm not even sure where at this point, read on there, was from a grandmother who said that if the baby has eaten and is, not in pain and has a clean diaper and they're fussy, they're probably tired. It really made a lot of sense to me. So I think when she was quite younger, we kept her up way too late. Like we were putting her to bed between like 8, 9, 10, or even later sometimes. That has been a really good indicator for us. If she is fussy and she's awake, she's going to bed, as long as all those other criteria are met. If you've been around any time, you might have heard of witching hour or just that colicky time of night, they call it. Well, the thought is, based on that information, is that your baby's just overtired. And Betsy does get into little spurts where she'll just get completely overtired. If she's been awake for a little bit too long or overstimulated, it's really tough for her to go to bed. Then in turn just becomes this cycle of takes forever for her to go to sleep, and then when she does finally go to sleep, there's a lot more wakings during that time. Week 4, I stopped swaddling her, and I didn't realize that babies wanted to be swaddled for longer than that. So about 8 weeks, I was reading a book. That one was The Happiest Baby on the Block, and it was by Dr. Harvey Karp. I'll be doing a book review on that one. And he suggested swaddling again. So at 8 weeks, we started swaddling again, and she is still swaddled at 4 months. She's about 4 months and 2 weeks or so. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. She just doesn't seem at all ready. I've tried leaving one arm out. She like whacks herself in the face. The reason I moved her out was because I was having trouble sleeping. I am a horrible sleeper anyway, and I hear every single noise, so I was awake all night. So I thought, well, let me try to move her in the other room, and that worked better for us. I still hear everything, but it was a little bit less intense. She was about 10 weeks. We moved her into her room. Around 10 weeks is when we first got her to go to sleep by 8 o'clock. And that was like the first time that I got all 3 kids in bed by 8 o'clock, and I was like, oh my gosh, so excited. And then I went to bed. She's not sleeping in her crib still at 4 months. I've gotten her to sleep in there a handful of times for naps and things like that, but she really doesn't. That's going to be another transition that I have not gotten to yet because she's just not even close to being ready for that. I try to put her in there as often as I can. When I'm cleaning her room, I'll put her in her crib. I put her in there, and then while she's in there, I go and run her bath. When I bring her back into her bath, I have everything already set up. I put her in her pajamas, I put her in her swaddle, and then I take her out into the living room and I give her another bottle. Sometimes she doesn't even want it at all. I bring her back into her room, and she has a white noise machine. I turn that on. I give her a passy. She has a fan on. I mean, really, we've done everything. It's like kind of high maintenance sleep routine. I didn't really notice it was high maintenance until we had some friends over for dinner one night, and I'm like, and this is what we do, and I just felt like a moron, like, oh, okay. Once we got into that routine after several weeks, she would go to bed not crying at all. She usually stays asleep for about 4 hours now at 4 months, till about 10:30, 11 o'clock. When she was about 2 months old, I started trying to do a dream feed. And a dream feed is when you don't wake them up, but you go in, you get them, and you feed them while they're still asleep. And the idea is that they don't wake up and that you're feeding them one more time before you go to bed. I would try it, and it was a disaster. She would be awake all night long, it seemed like. So I was like, the dream feed is stupid. And then I try it another couple weeks later. I'm like, I'm just going to try it. I want to go to bed. I would try it. Same thing. Now when I do it at like 3.5, 4 months, it works. So I don't know. I don't really know the rhyme or reason to that. If that's like they were too small for that to work or what. This is kind of her feeding routine, where if she was 2 months, she had 2 ounces of formula every 2 hours, no matter what. She never dropped a feeding. At 3 months, 3 ounces every 3 hours, no matter what. She's on her own little time schedule. Now that we're at 4 months, we have 4 ounces every 4 hours, for the most part. So at the early times, we were trying to cluster feed, which, if you've never heard of that, it's where you just feed small amounts really close together, so thinking that they might sleep longer. I was just going for 3 hours. Like, if we can just get a 3-hour stretch, then I feel like we can do this. So, for the most part, up until 4 months, she had never dropped a feed. We're very, very new at the dropped feeding, so it's been like, oh my gosh. Like, seriously, just one. I am not even concerned with sleeping through the night at all. I'm just 3-4 hours, like, that'd be fantastic. If you don't know, and I learned this with my first son when I took him to the doctor, and I was like, oh my gosh, he doesn't sleep, and she wanted me to tell her sleep cycle, and she goes, oh, he is sleeping through the night. It might not be what you think is sleeping through the night, but he is. Technically, a 5-hour stretch is sleeping through the night, typically between midnight and 5 a.m. And I'm like, what? You're kidding. But yeah, my criteria is you're going to stay in your bed asleep. Of course, she's waking up to eat and things like that, but her bedtime is 12 hours. I keep her in her room. So if she goes to sleep at 7:30, she is to stay in her bed till 7:30. And she will. And if she does wake up before that, when I give her a pacifier, she goes back to sleep for a while. And we kind of pacify that, literally, to extend that time. Now, her nap time. During the day, her sleep. So her wake time varies. In the books that I read, they were telling me that you really need to be consistent with the nighttime and the wake time. So if she is supposed to wake up between 7 and 7:30, you determine the time, whatever works for you. Then you need to do that every single day. Well, I did that for a while, and then if she was asleep in the morning, I'd be like, I'm asleep too, so I'm not going to get up. Then she's usually awake for about 2 hours, and then she'll go down for an hour to an hour and a half. That is now extended. It was only 40 minutes for a couple months, where I was just like, just an hour would be great, No. I figured out with her is that I really only want her to wake up happy. If she's waking up crying, and you know the cries, like the upset, tired cry, I'm going to give her a pacifier, passy. We call it a passy, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Passy, and we put her back to bed. Even at nap time, you're not ready to wake up yet. You can't be awake and be fussy. It's the law. She'll be awake for a couple more hours, and then she'll take an hour to 2 hour nap in the afternoon, and then an hour to 2 hour nap in the evening. So she's still on a 3 nap schedule. Very flexible. There's not like, oh, it's 1 o'clock, go to bed. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, probably when she's older, maybe. But for the most part, because our life isn't really like geared towards that, and I kind of just think that babies have their own natural rhythm, that I'm just kind of flexible with that. And when she's asleep is when I get things done. Except for the days that there's been a couple days when you wake up and you are just you never wake up the whole day, me. And I'm like, I need a nap so bad, and I will try and go, okay, this must be, because in the morning it's either 1 hour or 2 hours, in the afternoon it's either 1 hour or 2 hours, just, I don't know when her long nap is going to be, it's so unpredictable. Without fail, if I want a nap, it's like 10 minutes. There's no napping with this baby. She'll sleep for like 3 hours, and I'll be like, I didn't know this was coming, I could have taken a nap. But, yeah, I don't know if that's like, I have the worst luck with Murphy's Law. Murphy and me, not friends. Okay. With 2 other kids, I really wanted to have a situation where we didn't have to be quiet when the baby's asleep. Well, being so tired, and when you finally get your baby to go to sleep, I don't know what it is. Like, it's such a bad habit, probably on my part and probably my fault. And I'm like, shh, be quiet. You know, and my dog, if you have not heard, is a yippee yippee dog who barks at wind and everything else. Like, what are you barking at? No one knows. So I have the white noise machine, and it's really loud. Basically, here's the situation, is I don't have a great sleeper, but I have instilled a lot of these things that I've read about and learned and things like that along the way. And I have a pretty decent sleeper now at 4 months. The problem was back in 2 and 3 months when you're like, is it ever gonna stop? Like, is she ever gonna sleep ever? You know? And I kind of have it in my head. I have these little things I say to myself to try to keep positive. One is the first year of your baby, don't expect much as far as sleep. Like, you're gonna be tired. It's gonna be hard, but it's gonna pass and it's gonna be okay. That's a long time. That's like a year, literally. It's like hard to do. And when you're tired, it is hard. But if you keep telling yourself, okay, this is the time, it's going to get easier, it's going to get better. My thoughts on cry it out. I can't do it. I don't like it. I feel like I have a physiological, like, what word are we talking about? Physiological response to my baby crying. It hurts. It's like, I don't know, I got to go do something. That's me. I tried, I don't even remember. I think it was like 2 months. I called my doctor and I'm like, she's not sleeping. Like, I don't know what to do. Because sometimes you just need to process it with someone and say, what are we doing? And they were like, well, you're not letting her cry at all. Like, you need to give her some time to calm down. And I'm like, okay. So I had a timer on my phone, and I don't know where I got this. I think whatever. So I would say, I put her down. If she's crying, I'd wait 3 minutes, and then I'd go in. And then the next time I would wait 4 minutes and then go in. And then the next time I'd wait 5 minutes and then go in. Well, that was chaos. Like, I felt like it was mean to her. Like, I didn't like it. If she's crying, she needs something. And so I'm going to try to go. Am I tired? Yes. Is it hard? Absolutely. Does that mean I just, like, walk away? No. Like, you go back in there and you figure it out. And it's sometimes a really long process. Well, the cry it out process was even longer. I'm like, shush, dog, shush. The baby's not even here. My husband took her to go get an oil change. This is why I'm blabbering to you, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm alone. So, in the middle of the night, a lot of the books were like, make sure that they get into a really good cry before they're awake, because through the sleep cycle, they're going to wake up. Well, by the time she gets in a really good cry, she's going to be awake. And maybe that's not true, but this is what I think. I'm like, well, that's dumb. So I'm going to go in there. So I do go in there pretty much right away. I don't know if that's part of my problem. So here's kind of where we are right now, because this is kind of where I'm like, I don't know kind of what to do from here. We are finally getting pretty good night's sleep some nights where we get no sleep and she wakes every hour to 2 hours, not even kidding. And you're like, what is happening? What do you want? So if I get up stumble in there, give her a passy, go to sleep, leave, she's asleep. But she's waking every so often. I don't know why. She's not hungry. Around 3:30, she wants a diaper change. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So we'll change her diaper and put her back to sleep, and she will go back to sleep. I do not mind at all getting up with a baby who's hungry. They're hungry. They have a tiny little tummy and they cannot go longer. I don't mind that at all. I also don't mind getting up if you're sick, of course. Like, it's when you don't know what the problem is that you're just like, what are you doing? If there's not a reason, I'm like, baby, let's go to sleep. What are you doing to me? And she has no idea what she's doing. She doesn't. She's not waking up to frustrate us or to make us tired. She's a baby. She has no idea. And your baby has no idea. They just need you, which is a good feeling. My problem right now is the night waking, like every so often. The self-soothing, yeah, she can't do that. She can't self-soothe. For one thing, she's not even laying flat yet, and for two, she's swaddled, so she can't really like get her hands. 2 fingers, sucker, and I thought maybe if she can get to her hand, she can no. She's like poking herself in the face and screaming. It's great. If you sat through this entire video, God bless you. Thank you so much. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just like rambling. Realistically, every baby's different. Every need is different. And to expect, like, what do the Duggars do? Like, do you ever just sit there and go, wait a minute, what do the Duggars do? There's no way their babies had sleep issues and they were like, let's have 20 of them. Like, I'm like, 3's good. 3's fantastic. Mrs. Duggar, do you watch my videos? Because I need your help. Seriously, they have got to have like the easiest babies ever. It makes no sense. Anyways, we're talking about the Duggars. See? I'm tired. Have a good day. I love you guys.